it was more important now to cast the family around him. This was still on the left, a different prototype of the tin drum, far too big. And then you have the actors who play his two presumable fathers and his mothers, and on the left side, Maria, the girl who comes to help his father out after Oscar's mother died. And this was probably 3 months at least before we started shooting. I wanted to see whether such things as, you know, they want to take the drum away from him and he starts screaming, whether this only worked on paper in literature, or if you actually staged it, this would somehow make sense. Well, from the photographs, which again I took, I mean, we didn't have a camera, we just rehearsed without camera. There was no video then, where you could tell already it works. That's a great relief 3 months before you start shooting, to know that somehow what you are going to do, as unlikable as it sounds, that a boy will now play for 15 years the same size without growing through all these situations. And also it helps you a lot to see whether your cast fits together. It's not important that each actor fits his part. What's important is that the ensemble of your actors make a cocktail that is somehow tasty. Would they make, you know, the lover, the husband, and the mother? Would Dustin Hoffman, John Malkovich, and Kate Reed, would they make a family? That's the thing you can only find out by rehearsing. And if you are not happy with it, well, this is the moment where you can recast the role. If you do it a week into shooting, I mean, besides the money and the psychological problems, it's impossible. And it's also a great test for the screenplay. It's good to do these rehearsals. Well, that's the way it looked then in reality. Almost no difference, yes. No, it's a great test to rehearse your whole movie well in advance, if possible. You just got to beg the actors, can't you make it for 2 days around Christmas time maybe, or when you're not too busy? But we got to do this, and you're not going to be paid for it, you know, well in advance of actually shooting. Because this is also the best way to test the quality of the dialogue. You will find out invariably there's too much dialogue. You can have the screenwriter there, you can change things. You can even have your cameraman already around, and you start staging the scenes. Now, the actors would always say, you know, but in this scene, I feel like I should be sitting on the sofa and smoking a cigarette. The other would say, well, I feel like I should be standing by the window. And the third one says, well, I'll just remain in the doorway. Now, how are you going to photograph a guy who is sitting on the sofa, the other one is standing by the window, and the third one, let's say Angela Winkler, is standing in the doorway? A nightmare. Now, you cannot, on the other hand, tell the actors, no, you stay here, and here we make a mark, you stay there, and then with this line you walk there. That's the way apparently Fritz Lang used to do it, and as Billy Wilder said, and that's what his movies look like. It is no good, you know, to have here yellow for one character and blue cross for the other, and you do that before they even come to the studio, and then you show him this is the blocking of the scene. You want to work it out with the actors, and you want to work it out in the rehearsal, and you say, oh, so you want to sit in the sofa, fine. Yeah, you know, you kind of look so slumped when you're sitting on the sofa, you know. Why don't you sit on this chair here, you know, and you just take the chair and put it very close to the guy who's standing by the window. So now you got the two of them in one frame, and why don't you try it out this way? I mean, it's not manipulating, it is finding out with them, and they may come up with another idea. But then again, if you do all this way before you start shooting, roughly knowing what your set will be, you make it easier for your cinematographer to come up with interesting frames. And often with Igor Luther, I sit down and in the prepping of the film, and I'm an ugly drawer, very bad drawer, but it's just enough, you know, to find how could we do it, you know, how will we make it? And then we will go and take a book with drawings by George Gross or Otto Dix or whomever seems to fit the period we're dealing with and the spirit we want to give to the movie. We get inspirations from that. Oh, he could be in the foreground in a very close-up and the others far behind. I mean, you know.